I spoke to the sky. I remember going out at night and looking up at the stars and wanting them to see us, not to save us. I said, please see us, to see what happens to a planet when we haven't learned how to love each other. That we could become an object lesson for the universe, or at least our part of this galaxy. The whole culture, everyone in this time, and it's a time when we have split the atom, and so all of nature seems to be coming unglued, and we're unglued even from our alleged purposes. We need to come to wake up to what is. But people are afraid to say things that will demonstrate anything of their panic and feelings that we might not make it. So that's what you really lock up and cover it over. People are highly defended. So, and if you try to tell them, don't you realize that we have 50,000 nuclear warheads on the hair trigger alert? Don't you realize that we have acid rain? There's the environmental organizations were delivering information, assuming that they could stir or scare people awake, and was having the opposite effect. So I began to experiment with meditation. Now just be with our breathing. Notice how you're being breathed. The larger body here is breathing, and help people speak from within and not listen to anything, not tell them, but just, and I realized in this that the voice people most need to hear is the voice from within, because the voice within wants to live, and we cover it over with various forms of distraction and addiction. I remember when the first article about it came out, the French translation in Paris in a journal was Travailler avec l'angoisse planétaire, working with planetary anguish. The anguish is necessary because it's your loss of a previous identity and a previous code that worked. So that was the beginning of it, and that was, I called it, we found that once people shared what was happening for them as they looked at the world, and there's the ways you can help people do that. They need each other. One-on-one isn't nearly as good as having a group. They fall in love with each other and with life. Something is released in them and interpreted to them and help them see that this is not craziness. It's not because they're a failed person, but because they're alive. And it's because they care. And it's because actually they love this world. And so the sense of a turning from simply being passengers on this ball circling the sun to being this larger living, exquisitely beautiful and wise and that this being a moment in our evolution, of being here on behalf of life, letting life itself work through us, feeling that support, having the work help people see their real identity. So it was like an awakening to one's true nature. You don't read your way to this nearly as quickly as engaging and role-playing, and role-playing other critters, and role-playing future beings and ancestors, and realizing that we are so much more than our identity here and now. Waking up to our belonging to Earth, to our true identity as Earth, at the very moment when our species is seeing that we're killing the life on this Earth. Everything you've ever known and loved and pursued and delighted in is from this Earth. Every cell of your body is from this Earth. So always when we teach, it's the gift of not trying to give any answers or outcome, but being held in uncertainty, strengthened by uncertainty, staying in the moment, and seeing that the worldview that was the most useful was to see the three stories, as we call them, being enacted now. There's the story of corporate capitalism, but we decided to call it the Industrial Growth Society. Then, right from the beginning, the great unraveling. Get used to it. I like that term so much better than collapse, actually, because for systems, it's what systems do. They don't just fall over dead. They lose their coherence, their memory, and then the great turning. And always the realization we hold, we don't know which will win out now. It's neck and neck. So the great turning, which is what? It's a transition we're in. We're in it now. It's a transition. We're learning so much in science and in grassroots community building that it's not something we do instead of the collapse. It's something that can guide us through it. So my preposition these days is through. Honey, we're going to have to go through this. So then the great turning becomes like bodhicitta. It's a commitment. It's a vision. Oh, we don't want it to end like this. We don't want our time in this universe as humans, our story, to end with this rapacity, this viciousness, this cruelty. We've set machinery in motion that we can no longer control. So it looks like we're going to have to go through it. But by the laws of evolution and positive disintegration, that's what happens. That's what happened for me in my dark night of the soul. I didn't see how I could go on. And I lost a lot of my facile assurances. But during that time, and during this time for all of us, we're coming unraveled. And the old norms, the old codes, the old values and behaviors, we see it doesn't work anymore. It has to come apart. That's true at every single point of evolution. From the very beginning, it comes apart, what was driving you, the identity comes apart. And then new values and norms, you self-organize around them. And you become something with greater capacity and greater sensitivity and a greater reach. So we disintegrate in order to become more capable, more realistic, more including the interests of others, etc., etc. So that's the great turning. So we're rescuing our planet's life, but we're rescuing each other. We're learning how to love each other. It makes this a real interesting time to be alive.